The Global Talent Visa is the best visa that you can get as a potential immigrant to the United Kingdom. This is the visa that allows you to change jobs as often as you wish, to study at the university, or to start your own business. It also gives you a chance to bring your family together with you to the United Kingdom. And also in some cases, it gives you a chance to apply for the British passport in just 4 years. If you're interested in learning more about this visa and how you can get it, please continue watching. My name is Nadia. I'm a software engineer living and working in London. I moved here a little over a year ago on the skilled worker visa, and recently I was endorsed for the Global Talent Visa. In my earlier video, I talked about what the Global Talent Visa is and why it's so great. If you're interested in that, please check out the video that just appeared on your screen. In this video, I want to tell you about the specific criteria that you need to meet in order to get the Global Talent Visa. There is lots of information about this visa online. However, the single source of truth about it is called the Tech Nation Visa Guide. So whatever information you see online, you should always make sure that it matches the most up-to-date version of the Tech Nation Visa Guide, because this guide does get updated a lot, and this applies to everything that I'm going to say in this video as well. So overall, this guide is pretty great. It's very detailed. There is a lot of information in it about the visa. However, there is a problem with this guide. I have to say that even though it is detailed, it's still very confusing. I've spent a lot of time, many hours, when I was preparing to apply for the visa on this page with the guide. And I would say that initially, especially, I was very confused about what specific documents I need to prepare and also which documents prove what. So another resource that I used while preparing for applying for the visa was the Tech Nation Visa Forum, which was kind of helpful, but also initially was very confusing because there people obviously share a lot of useful information. However, they also use a lot of acronyms like MC, OC2, and other letters and words that don't really mean anything to you if you're just coming in fresh into the world of the Tech Nation Visa Guide and the Global Talent Visa. Overall, the criteria that you need to meet are divided into mandatory and optional. And there is one mandatory criteria that you need to meet, and there are 4 optional criteria, out of which you just need to meet 2. There is a lot I can say about all of those topics, so I've decided to talk about the mandatory criteria in this video, but there is actually so much stuff that there will be part 2 to this video where I'll finish talking about the mandatory criteria. And my upcoming videos will be devoted into each of the optional criteria. So if you are interested in the Global Talent Visa and you want to apply for it at some point in the future, please consider subscribing to the channel to not miss the upcoming videos on this topic. So what is the mandatory criteria? So according to the Tech Nation Visa Guide, mandatory criteria is something that proves that you have been recognized as a leading talent in the field of digital technology, or somebody who has the potential to be the leading talent. I know this is incredibly vague, but bear with me. So the way I think about the mandatory criteria is that you basically need to show that you have gone way and above what was required of you in your job or outside of your job as a software engineer. I realize this is still vague, but I hope that by giving you examples of the documents that you can present to prove that you meet the mandatory criteria, I will explain what it actually means. I think that actually looking at the documents makes it much more easy and also not as abstract or vague. So document number 1 from the Tech Nation Visa Guide is any kind of document that proves that you are receiving high remuneration for your work as a software engineer. The Tech Nation doesn't really define what high remuneration means, which is great because it gives you a chance to interpret this in a way that kind of fits your life situation. So one way to look at it is to prove that you are paid more than 95% of fellow software engineers in your country, if you can. If this is not possible, then you can also prove that you are being paid more than, I don't know, most or like 95% of the general population in your country. This is usually easier to prove, especially in countries where software engineers are paid 10 times more than the most of the general population. This is the case in Eastern Europe, where I'm from. So you can choose whatever of those options works for you. The way to prove that you're being paid more than most people is to use sources like Glassdoor or other regional equivalent where you can get information about how much people are actually paid in a certain industry or overall in the country. You can also use government statistics and other official sources. So what you do is usually you can get a screenshot of the data. And then you need also to provide a screenshot of any document that proves how much you are actually paid. So this can be a payslip, maybe your job offer or your contract or something like that. If you're getting paid bonuses or any other kind of additional money, you can also grab a screenshot of that. If you have an equity package, so if your company grants you stocks or shares, as many software companies currently do, you can also submit proof of how much you got, and also maybe if you can get like an estimate of how much this is worth. This is also great. If you have recently received a promotion, you might also have a document like a promotion letter or any other kind of document that says that you have been granted a promotion and more money because of your outstanding work as a software engineer. So all of this stuff is great. You can gather those screenshots and you can put them in one document to prove that you're getting paid more than most people in your industry or in your country. So this is one example of a document that might prove that you fulfill the mandatory criteria for the Global Talent Visa. So another document that the Tech Nation really loves is proof that you have given public talks at high-profile industry events. This is the wording that they use, but also they don't really give an precise definition of what they mean, which is great because, again, it allows you to interpret this the way that suits your current situation. If you have never given any public talks, if you don't have a public profile, if you don't have a following or anything like that, it might be very difficult or maybe even impossible to just go out there and start giving talks at like really high profile events. For instance, like if you are a Ruby on Rails programmer, but you have never spoken anywhere and you have never written anything and nobody really knows you, you have never contributed to open source or anything like that, it will be pretty much impossible, or maybe like, okay, I'm not going to say impossible, but very difficult for you to go and talk at the RailsConf, which is like the biggest event in the Ruby on Rails world. However, it doesn't mean that this criteria doesn't apply to you or there is no way for you to fulfill it. What you can do instead, you can start small. So if you have never spoken anywhere at all, you can start speaking at local meetups for the technology of your choice. So for instance, if you're coding in Java, you can find a local Java community. Usually there are groups like that on meetup.com or other local alternatives, maybe on Facebook. You can find this group, you can write to the organizers and say that you want to make a talk. If you are scared of giving a full-length presentation, you can start with a lightning talk. A lightning talk is just a short talk of like 5-7 minutes where you talk about any kind of topic that is relevant for the meetup. So you can start with that. You can start establishing relationships with local groups, with local meetups, and gradually start talking there. There are also a lot of opportunities to talk online. So when I initially was kind of working on preparing a stronger case for the Tech Nation, I have given a talk at Code Mentor Events, which is this online platform which is free, where you can apply with an idea for your talk. And if it gets selected, then you can speak online, basically. It's a Zoom webinar where people can join. So this one went pretty well. A lot of people joined. And I also use my other kind of platforms to talk at. So I talked at Women Who Code London, which was another nice way to talk to a friendly audience about a technical topic. And this is basically how you start. You start small. Ideally, it's nice if you have recordings of your talk, because then you can use the recording to apply to a bigger event. You can just write to an organizer of a big event saying that, hey, I have this experience talking at this meetup and that meetup. This is an example of me talking, and this is an idea that I have for your event, and please consider my talk as well. That's how you start. Each time you speak somewhere, try to have proof of the fact that you've spoken there. As I said, if there is a recording, it's perfect. If not, ask somebody to take a picture of you with a mic, just speaking, or grab a screenshot of the email where the organizer of the event asks you to talk or accepts your presentation idea, anything like that. So once applying for the Global Talent Visa, you will need to provide all of those documents proving that you have spoken there. It's also good to have information about the attendance. So grab a screenshot of how many people attended your event. If it was online, if it was live, maybe again, ask somebody to take a picture, maybe ask for the information about how many people attended the conference, if this is at the conference. So just be aware of how you can prove that the fact that you have spoken. But again, if you have actually given those talks, it shouldn't be too difficult to prove that you have done it. The Tech Nation is usually very flexible in terms of which kind of evidence they admit. They also, you can also submit a letter from the organizer of the event, just saying that you have spoken there and you have given this kind of talk in front of the audience of this many people. So proving this should be pretty easy. So I hope this is helpful and gives you an idea of how you can start public speaking if you don't have any experience of that yet. Another thing that the technician really loves to see is seeing proof that you have publications in the industry media. So again, the best thing to have is to have publications in really high-profile industry publications. However, if you have never written online for any kind of publication, it would be pretty much impossible for you to get published in a high-profile media source like Wired or something like that that is relevant for your industry. So again, the way to approach this is to start really small. So the technician really doesn't like blogs on Medium and LinkedIn for some reason. So if you want to start building up the portfolio of your publications online, it's better to start with your standalone blog on your own website, or you can use a hosted solution like Hashnote or Dev2. These are the platforms that work really well for a technician. So what you can do there is you can just start blogging and you can write in articles. And you can start writing articles about the industry where you are. This can be technical articles, it can be tutorials, this can be just you learning and sharing your learning process together with the audience or whatever else. There are like tons of examples of blogs online. Just go on Hashnote or go on Dev2 and see what people are blogging about. In this case, it really doesn't matter that much what you're blogging about. The topic has to be interesting for you so that you continue doing it. But honestly, just don't worry too much about it. Just start writing about whatever is top of mind for you. This can also be some soft topics related to working as a software engineer. So, and those might be easier and quicker to write. So for instance, I published articles about my tips for having successful one-on-ones with my manager as a software engineer, and also had an article about how a junior developer might get promoted to mid-level. So things like that work really well as well. So just start writing, start blogging. As soon as you have a couple of articles that are decent, of a good standard, you can start trying applying to other bloggers and websites that accept guest postings from other bloggers. And again, as with the previous example, you can use your own writing samples as proof that you can deliver quality writing and that you are actually a good writer. Once you get publications in some bigger blogs or bigger websites, you can kind of see however far you can take it, but honestly, the technician doesn't really require you to be published in the biggest publications in your industry. I think another easy hack that you can do to get published in an industry publication that is kind of not just your own blog is to try to write an article for your company's blog. So a lot of software companies have a blog of their own. Maybe yours has it as well, but you just have never maybe used it or have never seen it. So check it out whether they accept publications or not. Usually they do. Try to find somebody at your company who's responsible for this blog and ask them what you can do to submit an article there. This might be like an easiest way to break into the space and to get an article published in an industry publication. Also, the benefit is that there is usually an editor who will help you go through the process to get your article published. So in the case of my visa application, I also submitted my book, Crossing the Rubicon. I'm not saying that you need to have a book in order to have a strong case for the visa, or that you just need to go out there and write a book to just apply for the visa. However, if you have always wanted to write a book and kind of you were waiting for a sign to do it, maybe this is the sign. But for me, I had the book, so I submitted it as part of my document. So I submitted the link to the book, then some statistics around the number of copies I sold. Then I also added the ratings from Goodreads, from Gumroad, from Amazon. And then I also added some reviews and endorsements from some of the industry leaders. I think that this is something that made my case really strong. And this is like a nice benefit to have. So if you have any kind of publications or ebooks or pamphlets or anything like that, think of them and also include them in your case. So these were some of the documents that you can use to prove that you meet the mandatory criteria for the Global Talent Visa. In part 2 of this video, I will tell you about more documents that you can use as proof. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. If you have more private questions and you want me to help you with your visa, please go to bitlhope.com/talent and I will get you sorted. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!